Genuine question, things have gotten so super radicalized lately, so why haven't there been more assassination attempts? I feel like they're less common than they used to be, even in less radical times. So I'm going to take this as a sincere question and not like a veiled leftist Twitter threat. Not against me, of course, but you know how people like to LARP. The real answer is, of course, material conditions. Over here in the West, even the relatively poor are comfortable by the standards of the rest of the world. People have something to live for. And the people who don't have anything at all to live for are, for the most part, dispossessed emotionally against things that are not systems of power. So think of it this way, okay? For most of human history, your life could end like that. There were no guarantees. There were no pensions. There was no welfare. There were no retirement homes. You worked until you broke, and if you had family to take care of you, then they did, as long as they could. But oftentimes there wasn't enough food. People starved in winter constantly. There were a lot of kids born and a lot of kids who died. Life wasn't a guarantee. And for that reason, I mean, if you got sick, you could just die. Medicine wasn't really a thing. Your life was worth very little, and very little could be guaranteed. In an environment like this, it's pretty easy to convince people to sacrifice themselves to kill someone else. It's still like this in some parts of the world, you know? In many parts of, like, in war-torn countries, you know, in Ukraine right now, where nothing is taken for granted. You know, why do I want to say Burma? Not Burma. That's the old name for the country. Myanmar. Thank you. I kept thinking Malaysia, but not Malaysia. Myanmar. Thank you. Thank you. With their civil war. In many parts of, you know, sub-Saharan Africa and portions of Central America, you know, there are places where things are unstable enough that people think very little of their lives, and a lot of them are willing to die or at least risk their lives to do something. But over here in America and in the Western world broadly, the thing is, most people, even poor people, are both A, comfortable, and B, given something to do. You know, people aren't really left to their own devices the way they were back in feudal times. Everyone is interlinked. And for that reason, even people who are suffering usually can occupy their time with something. There's usually something going on, something they can occupy their time with or care about or engage with to keep them, you know, from doing something wacky. Usually when we see exceptions to this, it's because a person is emotionally disturbed enough that they're willing to do something like a mass shooting. The problem is that emotionally disturbed people, you know, the incels, the mass shooters, whatever else, that's not a state of mind that you want to be in if you want to productively, I don't know, apply your suicidal tendencies. If that makes any sense, you know, productively. The irrationality that leads you to lash out is the irrationality that makes you select the targets that you do. Which people often say this. Why don't school shooters do something, if they want to throw their lives away, why not go after blank or whatever? Because the kind of people who want to do a school shooting aren't the kinds of people who want to make some broad political statement. They're not the kind of people who want to give their life for this, that, the other. On a fundamental level, what they are is deeply alienated and sick, and they want to hurt people as a revenge for the way they feel. But that's not like a constructive political justification. Even if, like, why do you think there are so many like super far right mass shooters who are like Nazis or whatever, but then they do a shooting like that guy in New York, the state of New York, Buffalo, New York, that guy who like shot up a grocery store and killed 10 black people? That guy was a Nazi. He had the N-word carved into his gun. I ask you, why did that guy not go out and shoot, I don't know, like a left-wing politician? He could have. It's not that hard to access most politicians outside the president. Like, it's not that difficult conceptually. Why didn't he? Certainly he would have wanted to, because the Nazism is one sickness, but the sickness that made him want to go out and kill people, that doesn't express itself in like a targeted way. Does that make sense? That's the reason why you don't see stuff like that. I think that ultimately it is a good thing that we don't live in a society where people are so desperate and think so little of their lives that they're making nonstop like assassination attempts on the other side, because that does happen in some countries. Assassination attempts are like, look at the history of, I don't know, Burkina Faso, for example. You know, go enjoy the, you know, a write-up on that. We looked at it on stream, just a nonstop succession of coups. Oh no, it's not Fed posting to ask the question. I don't think it's wrong to ask. It's a legitimate question, you know. I think that a lot of people are rightfully curious, given the current state of things.